right, guys, welcome back to the Barbells Banter podcast. This is going to be like season 2, episode 1, because I don't think we've done one of these in like, oh, Jared, how long has it been? We were just talking about this, and it was like, I think the last one we did was at my house, and it was like in person, and it was probably,
Or
I
like
think,
just after COVID. Like,
yeah, like just after COVID. Like, I think I had just graduated. Um, so obviously, like, we've got a lot of life updates to go over here,
yeah,
and
2 years.
yeah, we got a couple years of information to catch you guys up on. But I guess basically the big things like Jared is graduated now.
Yep.
Um, and we both competed since then. So I feel like that was after my second show, maybe. Like that would have been like summer 2021.
Yes, that because you compete, I think July
Yeah, yeah.
26th, I think it was.
Yeah, but honestly, like life's just been like super busy.
Yeah.
Like it's just like and it comes at you fast too, right? Like next thing you know, it's like years later. And
Man. Like it's crazy. I was telling Carly about this the other day. Like I'm gonna be 23, my birthday. Like that's
oh dude, I know.
crazy, right? Like
Already
I can remember when I
24.
was 16, I was like it was like yesterday. I was playing school sports, like, and now it's crazy because like her brother's having a baby. I remember when he was like, a couple of years older than me, playing floor hockey in high school, and now he's having a baby, he's getting married, all this crazy stuff, right? So it's
Well,
like,
dude, that's the thing. Like I'm friends with everyone that I went to high school with on Facebook and stuff. And like
yeah,
I don't go on Facebook very often, but like every now and again I go on like so and so's getting married, so and so has like 3 babies. I'm like,
yeah.
what's going on, dude? Like
He's like gender reveals every other week. Like
it's
I can't
crazy,
keep up
dude.
with it.
It's
Yeah,
crazy. But I mean neither of those are happening anytime soon for me. So
me either. Maybe another cat, but no babies.
Are you getting another cat?
We're thinking about it to keep the other one occupied.
Dude, one of your friends.
Yeah, she's psychotic and just bored all the time, so she's
Yeah.
just a menace because she's bored. So
You still have the fish?
no, the fish died.
When you eat it?
No, so it had like this eye infection. So its eyeball literally blew up. And uh, like the cost to get this fish back to life was like, it's a fish. So
Yeah, you're not gonna do surgery on a fish or something.
I'm not bringing that thing to the vet. So
Yeah.
he became pretty immobile and was just like stuck to just like lay down on the bottom of the tank, but he was still alive. So
Yeah.
we're like, we gotta kill this guy. Like,
He's called the quits.
go
Oh,
puncture to the brain and flush him.
tough. That is
Couldn't
tough.
flush him alive. I felt too bad.
Yeah. Oh
Kill him.
man. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean like we moved up here and obviously like Paige had to give away her dog.
Yeah.
So other update, I live in Ontario now. So I moved to Oakville in April. And I mean, it was kind of like, I wouldn't say it was like a quick decision because like last summer, me and Morgan were like thinking about moving up here, and like it was just like finding a rental spot was just like it's so hard. And even for us to get this condo, like that was the thing. Like we literally had to like one like give them like basically our whole life story, like had to like send over all my banking info, like basically like tell them how much I had so they give us the condo. And also Paige had to give away her dog because there's like restrictions on dogs for the condo. It's like you can have a dog, but it has to be like under like 25 pounds or something like that. So that was a big thing. And we had to like write a letter to them and be like, we're like the best people in the world. Like
It's like
all the
trying to get a new job.
literally just like
Right.
begging these people to let them take our money. We're like,
Yeah.
please, like take our money. And anyways, so that was like we came up here in February to like condo shop and like look at condos and stuff. And we kind of talked about it because the last show I did was October of 2022. So me and Paige were both up here and we were like, I was like, I wanted to move up here for a while. And she was just graduating school in April. She actually like finished school when we were up here. Like we moved before she was even done school. Um, so that was pretty hectic, but it was like yeah, I mean, it happened pretty fast. We came up here, looked for a condo, kind of found a building we liked, and then just started applying to as many as we could. And anyways, we lucked out and got a great spot. But yeah, it was a stressful couple months. trying.
Yeah, well, the whole
Right.
moving process, like, moving everything you own, like we've talked to this before, you don't know how much you own until you move. And
No,
like you lived at your parents' house, you had one bedroom, right? Like
that's the thing.
imagine moving a full house. Like if you have
Yeah.
two kids, like you're so much shit, you wouldn't know what to do with it, right?
And it's just like tucking things away too. It's like I'm pretty good at like only keeping things that like I need to use. Like when I moved, I think I got rid of like 5 garbage bags of clothes, and I still had like 14 boxes. And
Oh
then
yeah.
they were like roasting me because I had like way more boxes of clothes than Paige. And but like that's the thing, like you really just don't know. And like the more, I guess the more space that you have to like tuck things away, like you got a little storage closet, like you're just gonna hoard stuff in there.
Yeah.
But like the good thing about the condo, like our condo is like relatively big for like a condo, I guess.
Yeah.
But like storage is so minimal. Like, man, I wish I could like show you guys my fridge because I'll probably get a picture and pop it up here. But Jared stayed at our condo for like almost a week.
Yeah.
And how small is a fridge, bro?
It's like a mini fridge, like a little bar fridge. Like,
Essentially, yeah. And it's like it like looks all nice and aesthetic. It's like the same as the cupboards, but it's literally like the same size as like a cupboard. Like
yeah, yeah.
you can fit like the Brita in there, a container of prep chicken, a container of prep ground beef, and then like some veggies and shit. And like that's pretty much it.
I guess you think about it too, like how would you even get a full size fridge in there, right?
Well, that's the thing too.
Yeah, like it'd be tough, right? And like you think about when they built that place, like, how many floors is your building? Like 10 or 11?
Yeah.
Like imagine getting a full size fridge in every one of those rooms.
Yeah. No, it'd be tough. It'd be tough. But like I was thinking about getting like a deep freeze and putting it in my
Yeah,
office here.
yeah,
But like at the same time, like, yeah, it'd be all right if we were doing like Costco or like getting chicken when
yeah.
it's on sale. But we live like right now, like there's a Walmart across the street and there's a grocery store across the street. So like if I ever need anything, I just go over and get it. Like literally
Everything's fresh.
walk
You're
over, you get it fresh, and then you cook it. Um, so I mean, it's not awful, but it's definitely like a different lifestyle change for sure.
Oh, for sure. Everything is just more compact, right? Like,
Yeah, that was the other thing too. Like the other biggest like change here is like driving places. Like
yeah,
I pretty much only leave the house to go to the gym, right?
yeah,
But like the gym is like in Burlington, which is like 15-20 minutes depending on traffic. But like if you go at like rush hour, it's like 40 minutes to the gym.
yeah,
So it's like, you get in the highway and you could literally be crawling there for a while. And it's so frustrating, dude. Because like
yeah.
at home, like people drive like it's mostly like old people that don't know how to drive and like they drive super slow, can't make up their mind. But people here literally just like don't care. It's not people driving slow. It's people like I'm trying to get where I'm going. Like get out of my way. Like they'll
Or I'm
literally
gonna drive through you.
drive. Yeah, they'll
Yeah,
literally just drive on the side of the road, like not even in lane, just to like skip traffic because they want to. It's just like it's wild.
yeah.
Yeah, that's probably been the biggest change and kind of like adjusting here. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm really enjoying it up here.
Yeah, I had a blast when I came there. Definitely like first time visiting. I've been to the airport, but not like in Toronto or even anywhere. My aunt lives in Belleville, so it's I think further north. So I've been there, but it's more like countryside, right? It's like
Yeah,
cornfields, like it's just rural. So more close to here. But yeah, when we went to Toronto and I seen that 16 lanes, I was like, oh,
yeah, yeah. That's crazy. That highway's crazy. But yeah, no, like, what do you think about the like training environment and everything up here? Like, how'd you find that?
yeah, it's different, right? Because we both know, like here, we train at the same gym. We're like the biggest guys there, the most advanced guys there. And it's like going from junior high when you're in grade 9 and you're like top dog, and you go to grade
Yeah,
10, and now you're at the bottom again. It's
yeah,
good because it's that push you need, right? You're looking around pure and you're the smallest guy there, and there's pros there, men and women. There's, just people who've been doing this shit for a long time. So it forces you to push the envelope and just keep digging, 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 which here it's easier to kind of just, maybe I don't want to do those 2 reps today. Those
yeah.
2 reps,
Well,
right?
yeah, that's the thing, man. Because there's like top level pros just like strolling around the gym,
You
and
don't
it's
know
like
if they're looking at you. They could be eyeing you
they
down.
could be eyeing you down, man. That could be your one chance, and then that's your impression for forever. So
Yeah.
there's you can't train like a bitch there. That's the bottom line, right?
Yeah,
But
and obviously the equipment selection is amazing. Yeah, and the environment, posing room is really neat. Yeah, sadly we didn't really get to a whole lot of good training because it was kind of, you're flying and we were bouncing around different
yeah,
places to be. So it'd be cool. I'm coming up again in November. Carly's competing. I think I'm gonna rent a car. So yeah, we'll be up there. I think we're coming up Thursday and coming home Monday. So we'll have a good few days of we're gonna get an Airbnb. So a few days of good nutrition, some hydration, get some good sleep, and then have some proper sessions. But
that's
yeah,
really what you need though, dude.
yeah, you need to be. You can't approach that
You
with
gotta
uh, with
you got to
being
come
poor.
up like a whole week and like because like flying that takes away like a
Oh,
day and a half just to get like settled.
yeah,
And I mean, then once you get up here you got to go grocery shopping, do all that other stuff, so you need to get settled, get some good night's sleep and like get back on track and then hit some hard sessions. But no, that'll be good, dude.
yeah.
And so
I'm pumped.
Charlie's first show.
Yeah, so November, King Kong Classic, she's doing figure. I think she's 18 weeks out. She will be, or she was yesterday, 18 weeks out.
So
Oh, actually today, sorry, the show's on Sunday. So she's 18 weeks out today.
have they started like pulling food back at all yet?
Yeah, so food's reduced. Obviously cardio is not crazy high. It's just like more of just increase your output, get some extra steps in.
Yeah.
Cautious that you have to get that done. Rest days, I think she's doing like 30 minutes fasted,
Okay.
but she'll respond pretty quick. She doesn't have any trouble getting, like, she's never been lean, but I'm sure if she just pulled calories, she would get lean quick. Uh,
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like she can eat food, like she can eat a lot.
yeah,
And
like that season, she was doing like 250, 300 grams rice a meal,
yeah, like that's crazy.
shoveled in. Like,
Yeah,
and 'cause in prep, we were like kind of on opposite ends. Like, I
yeah.
was eating like at the lowest, like 100 grams of rice a meal, and she was doing like 300 grams of rice. So it's like wild for us to get meals together, and like we're looking at each other's bowls and we're like, oh, which one's mine?
Eating way more than you.
Yeah, I'd be done in like 15 seconds, like just done. And
That's
she
hilarious.
an hour later still like shoveling it in.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm looking forward to seeing her on stage and like seeing like what her physique actually looks like,
What it looks like, yeah, once
Yeah,
get that fat, because she's never been lean, right? So once you get the fat off, you really know. And it's a
exactly.
process, right? Week after week, you see those changes, and it's
Yeah.
makes you keep going.
Yeah, it'll definitely be cool like I mean for you to watch her go through that.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. Yeah.
that's the other thing too. Like obviously we both have okay, so we'll go over like our last shows.
Yep.
So I competed in October and that was my first open show, which was a blast. I competed it was like I think 2 hours from here. It's in Coburg. Um and it was the Legends Cup. And so the plan was to compete and obviously get my qualification for nationals and then do that the following weekend. But this was like the last show before nationals, and it was like super competitive show. I came fourth, so I had to be like top three to get my qualification. So I didn't get my qualification, but like we went to nationals like the next weekend, and I literally would have came dead last if I did qualify. Like that's
You
what
realize that quick, eh? Like when I went to just the Toronto Pro and I watched the amateur show, I'm like, man, these guys are, even the amateurs were like, the guys who are placing like last in their class were still pretty good guys, right?
dude, and
So,
that's the thing. Like and that was like so I came fourth. So for people listening, you have to place top three within your class. So I'm obviously a taller guy, and I would be in. I think I was registered to be in like class D based on my height. So that's like you got to think like I'm nowhere near my weight cap, and you got these shorter guys who are in class A and B who already have their weight cap maxed out, and they might be like 5'7" to 5'10", but they look housed at that size, and it's just like if you don't have your weight cap filled out, there's you don't really got a chance,
no.
honestly. And like so that's the thing. Like so I didn't even place top three in my class. So there's also top three in class A, in class B, and class C who look way better, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to go to the overall then, and then all the winners from each class, from each height class, compete against each other, right? So that's how it works in classic. And I mean, for men's physique, I think in amateurs they just break it up by either you're above 5'9" or you're below 5'9". and then open, it's obviously, pre-game.
Open, we still have those benchmarks though, right? Like we know, like for me, for example, with my height, like Morgan is what, 6'3", 6'2". I'm a little bit shorter than that. He competes at like 280. So we have those benchmarks being like, okay, for to turn pro, that's kind of where you need to be at. Similar structure, if you're a shorter guy, obviously you can get away with being short, being less weight, but we
Yep.
still have those kind of benchmarks to go by. So like yeah, like we in Toronto, the Justin guy, he was like what, 285 on stage, and he
Yeah.
didn't go pro, the light heavy did, but he was still like, I would think 230s, 240 for his height.
Yeah. But if you guys saw this guy in person, like I saw
Uh,
him walking around the gym like
yeah,
before the show, and he literally looks like a cartoon character. Like it's
yeah,
crazy. Like I've never like in person, I've never seen someone as big as he is. And obviously, seeing someone in the gym versus seeing someone on stage is completely different. Like I would consider myself someone who like looks a lot better in the gym than I do on stage. Um, and who's was it Sean Ray that was really like um
that's Dennis James, I think you're talking about.
Dennis James, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bodybuilder, yeah.
And he just looked insane in the gym.
And in the forums, he would be like posting his pictures up prior to Olympia, and everybody like, oh, this guy's winning for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, on stage he would just, like, we know Instagram is obviously your best for us right now, is the best of everything, right? Like the best lighting, best angles. When you're on stage, it's just you and a little pair of trunks,
it's raw, yeah,
some good lighting, some oil, some tan, but you're exposed, right? So
yeah,
you can't hide, you can't get a good angle, you can't get the best lighting. You're just there.
yeah. No,
You
absolutely.
don't have, if you're not well put together, it's gonna show.
Yeah. So overall, my experience with my show was a good experience because it was like pretty eye-opening. Because like obviously I was like in my head, like being at home, I was like, okay, I can go to nationals and do decent. Like obviously I knew I wasn't going to turn pro or anything like that. But I thought I would do decent. But then like coming up here was like such a reality check. Like even at a regional show, like I got smoked and I'm like, damn, like I got some work to do. Like I'm not like people up here are putting in work too. Like when I think I'm at home, like I would say like nobody's training as hard as me and Jared are,
Yeah.
and like we're eating our meals, we're training hard, but like so is everyone else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's just like you can't lay off the gas at all. And especially like us being where we are, like at our age, it's like people who are turning pro, it's just like they're getting younger and younger, and it's just like
Oh man.
starting earlier and earlier. It's
We
crazy.
seen that Brazilian guy a few weeks ago, 21 or 22, and like
Yeah.
on a pro stage holding his own against seasoned
Yeah.
guys,
And
right?
like the muscle maturity that some of these guys have, it's like they have to have been pushing gear since they were like 16
Yeah.
and like literally just like nailing like 6 meals a day since then. Like,
It's brutal, man, but it's cool to see though, because years and years, obviously before our time, like you couldn't see these genetic freaks because they were just like, they didn't have the opportunity to show themselves. But now with Instagram and all the reach we have, you're just seeing like new people come up all the time. Like there's that I'm not sure, a French guy, I believe, the classic guy, black dude.
the yeah, yeah. And
He
he's
popped
like this
off.
pose with his hands behind his back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he looks
He
crazy.
he's popped off, right? Like these people pop up out of nowhere, and then their physiques are crazy, and then they just reach crazy popularity, which is
Yeah,
cool to see. And like I'm not sure if you follow Good Vito, is his name?
yeah,
Yeah, like he's short and like massive, right? Like
yeah,
it's absurd.
yeah.
So it's cool to see for sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But it's like at the same time, it's also like I find it super like unmotivating because it's
It's
like
daunting, right? It's like
very
fuck.
daunting. It's like you see the guys and they're younger than you, they're way
Yeah,
better than you.
yeah,
And it's like, what am I even doing? Like I don't stand a chance.
yeah.
And so
The
like
thing though with bodybuilding is it's like such an individual sport that it doesn't even matter. Like you can do well financially and well competitively without being like the absolute best in the world. That's the cool thing with bodybuilding. You can do your own thing with it, and as long as you're like progressing year after year, you're on the right track.
yeah,
And you can't get too caught up on what everybody else looks like, because if you do, then you're never gonna.
no, I know, absolutely, absolutely. And that's something I try to do. Like I try not to spend a lot of time on social media because I'm on there a lot anyways for like work and stuff. So like, I'll try to go on and like see what my clients are doing and like make a post myself, and then I just try to get off it.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get caught in like that like rabbit hole, like comparing yourself to everyone else, and then like it's hard to wake up every day and like do what we do, thinking that it's just like there's no
What's it
point.
all for? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna suffer like 6 meals down today,
Yeah.
like put a bunch of harmful shit in my body, and then like for what,
Same
right?
applies to business though. If you spend your whole day looking at everybody else's coaching and like people way above you and you're like, man, I'm not at that level, then you're gonna be pretty miserable. So you just gotta
Yeah,
focus and like just keep getting better within your own realm, right?
yeah, absolutely. I think as long as you stay like in your box and like just focus on you and like try and like also just being yourself. Like I find
Yeah.
like that helps on social media. That helps with like coaching and like growing your business. Like just like do your own thing. Like be yourself, and
Yep.
like people are gonna like catch on to that. They're gonna be like, it just seems like more authentic, and obviously you're gonna attract clients that like you actually want. Um, and that's something that I've kind of like realized in the past, like pretty much like when I moved up here, I'm like, I don't want to like coach everyone. Like
Yeah.
there's like a specific subset of people that like and I know because like I'm better at coaching these people. Like I'm better at coaching like guys that are similar to me. Obviously, like I coach like lifestyle and competition. Competition, I obviously enjoy way more. And I feel like competition is almost like having competition clients is almost like a treat because
Yeah.
like they're easy, right? It's like, you tell them what to do, you've done it yourself, and it's just like more so just like obviously like you need a plan of attack, like you need to have things laid out and have a plan for your clients. But like there's no thing like where they're gonna come to you and be like, oh, like I didn't follow the plan this week. Like that's just not a variable that you need to worry about. And it makes things so much easier, but also so much more stressful because like they're doing everything you said. So like if things don't go as planned, like that's on you,
Right.
right?
And another thing too is the progress is much more evident. So it's cool. Like whenever I get a client who's in prep and they send a check-in, I'm so stoked to just look at it and be like, okay, like where are we at this week and compared to last week? And then it's
Yeah.
so well laid out, and each week there's gonna be that continual progression. So it keeps the client engaged and it keeps you engaged too, because you're just looking forward to, helping them out.
Process is so much fun because like you can see like you can actually see what works, right?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, this is how this is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Like if I do this, this is gonna happen. And you can actually like collect data and figure out like, okay, like right now, like I have one of my guys is like we're doing like kind of like a mock carb up.
Yeah.
Just like he's pretty much ready. He shows in like 3 weeks. So these past 3 days, I've just been like slowly like increasing his carbs and like seeing how much his body can take. And then once we find that limit, that's where I know like, okay, this is what we have to do for peak week. And yeah, so it's just cool when you can do that. And that's the other thing too, is I find like both of us are obviously going into long off seasons now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like if you've competed before, you obviously know like there's always that itch to get on stage. Like when you finish a show, you're like, I can't wait to eat, I can't wait to grow. But
Yeah.
that lasts like a couple months.
You
Once
have
you
to start to level out and you're like, oh, okay, I'm tired of eating again.
Yeah, once you start getting a little fat and like, you gotta start forcing food down your throat, it's just like, I can't wait to prep.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like I find having competition clients allows you to get that like satisfaction at the same
Yeah.
time.
To
Like
kind of live for them a little bit. Right?
you see them changing every week, and like you get excited for their progress. And like I do that with all my clients. Like I have clients that are on like weight loss journeys, and like they're losing like 2-3 pounds a week, and like you see them changing fast, and it's like, okay, this is sick. Like
It's
it's just,
going well.
yeah, it's just like it's a lot of like I guess like yeah, you just get satisfaction out of seeing like
It's
others.
just positive energy, right? It's seeing someone else achieve something, but being proud of them, happy for them, even though it's not your own success, but you're still involved in that positive energy, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like you see how much like it's like changing their life. Like if you have like a really overweight client and like, they lose like 50 pounds, like that is life changing for them. You know what I mean? And it just changes how they go about their day-to-day activities, and like you can see how much happier that makes them. And that's like so fulfilling. Um, yeah, so it's a good feeling. All right, so we're back. We just had to upgrade the meeting minutes here. But yeah, so going back to your show. So you
Yeah.
competed in November, and this was your
First open show. Yeah, second show, first open show. So I guess we'll go back. So I think we recorded the last podcast 2021 in July. So I would have started taking PEDs June, so a month before that.
Right.
So yeah, so we did. I'll just start from there. So shortly after that, we just did a cycle. Took some time off. Did another cycle. Took some time off because initially the show was supposed to be, remember, in the spring.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm happy it wasn't because I graduated that spring. So I would have been doing my thesis and presentation and all that stuff like 2 weeks out. And
Yeah.
now knowing how I felt at 2 weeks out, I'm happy that that didn't happen. But
Yeah. I
yes,
remember you were still in prep when you were finishing school though, right?
yeah, like kind of really early on.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And
Yeah.
I remember how stressed out you were about your thesis
Oh,
because you had to do like a presentation for your thesis and like stand up
yeah.
in front of all your profs and like
So I'll tell a little story about that. So the morning of, I don't drink coffee because it gives you the shit, so I'm not messing with that. You got to do a presentation, right? So instead, I was like, let's just take a scoop of Hydroburn, get that little bit of a caffeine kick, get me a little bit alert, but not destroy my guts. So I went into the presentation and it was going well, and then it's the question period, and the prof I had who was grading my paper, her thing was lipids, like that. She's like 65 years old at this point, and she spent the last 40 years only studying lipids. So it's like her thing. And that's what my thesis was about. So yeah, so she starts grilling me, like absolutely coming at me, like just ran. The first thing she asked me was like, how do you calculate BMI? And I was like, I'm not sure how this is relevant to my presentation. And my professor, who was my mentor, would said the same thing. He was like, I'm not sure how this is relevant. Anyway, she just started asking me random things to just throw me under the bus, essentially.
yeah, yeah.
So as soon as she started asking me this stuff, I get this wave come over me, just like blood draining from my head right to my toe. And I turned white and I just profusely started sweating, like so bad. I had like a grayish, like a little dressy shirt on. And I just remember it like starting to stick to my skin.
Oh
And
no.
at one point, I could feel beads just dripping off my nose, off my chin. So anyway, yeah, that was awful, but I ended up doing really well. Passed, I graduated with honors, so that was great. So fast forward to that was kind of the very start of prep, and then I did prep and I competed in November. So that was my very first open show. I competed in 2019 in men's physique. Naturally, I think I was 165 or 163 or something on stage. And I competed again in 2022 and I was 208, I think, on stage or the morning of. So it was a pretty good couple of years of just eating and growing, which for anybody out there listening, that's exactly what you need to do. Do not compete consecutive years. You're going to be maybe 5 pounds heavier every year. But imagine if you took 3 years off and you were 40 pounds heavier. If you can do that in spurts, then that, like Hunter Labrada says this all the time, like build a pro level physique before you really start competing, right? Like build
Yeah.
that foundation before you start. Otherwise, you're just selling yourself short by 16 weeks of eating in a deficit. You're not going to grow any tissue, right? So I competed in November. That was fun. I learned a lot. Yeah. So we got pretty lean. I could have been leaner. But at the end of it, I started getting a little bit flat and stringy. But that was just because I didn't have a whole lot of tissue.
Yeah.
Uh, being 6'2", 208, that's still not big. So lessons learned. But the main purpose of that prep was to set me up for this off season because I had been eating a surplus for 3 years, accumulated a good amount of fat. I think I was 250 when I started prep, and I got down to 208, so it was like 42 pounds. So yeah, so that put me in a perfect place to start prep. And then I took time off, 8 weeks post show, and then we started a rebound, and I added a lot of tissue. Now I'm up to like back up to 257. So I was, yeah, I reached that pretty quick November, so it hasn't been a year yet. But the rebound was really good. I got up to 260, but then coming off everything and letting everything clear, went back to 250, and then I'm back up to 257. So
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like I find for you to like next time you hit 260, it's obviously going to be a lot better 260.
mm,
And it's almost like you have to like maintain that weight for a long time for it to kind of like for you to be able to hold that. You know what I mean? For the tissue to be able to develop and but yeah, man, like that's like I think after so Jared started. When did you say you started when your first cycle?
2021 June
Okay,
24th.
so because I was doing a national show in July,
Right. Yeah.
so I started in October after that, and I was pretty much the same thing. Had like great off season, and from my show in July to my show in the following October, it was like 35 pounds of stage weight difference.
Crazy.
So it was really good improvements. And I mean, that's what we're both hoping to do here again now. That's just going to take more time, right? Because obviously, like you're never going to have a cycle that's as good as your first cycle.
Yeah.
Um, and the other thing is too, it's like I feel like people come at like out of the gate way too hot, and like they try to make their first cycle like some big crazy cycle when you need like a small amount of tests and you're gonna make insane progress just using that.
I've
And
had great results from my clients. Like I've had 3 clients now who've only done between either 300 or 350 their
yeah,
first, and similar results, 25, 30 pounds of solid size. Yeah, like if you implement everything for your first one, like where do you go from there?
yeah. Well, that's the thing. I was like explaining to one of my clients the other day. It's like you almost got to think of it as like tools in a toolbox, and like you can't just like just don't use tools when you don't need to use them,
Right.
right? So like if you can use a hammer instead of using a drill, then like use a hammer and get away with that, and then use the drill when you need it.
Right.
So it's like only deploy those things when they're really needed. And like you don't want to be like 5 years down the line and having to like push up insane numbers because like you started off too hot and now you have nowhere to go from there.
And
So
obviously with time, like in those early time to your first blast, like you can, as long as nutrition's really good, training's really good, all you need is that little bit of stimulus, right, to grow. Like it's just going to reinforce the recovery and glycogen retention, and then you can grow from there. Sorry, my cat is on my printer. It's like, yeah, she's a menace. But yeah, like just be smart with it, right? Because a lot of people enter their first cycle with zero nutrition knowledge, no one to tell them how to do things, and they're just kind of going to blindly relying on the gear to drive progression, and then they come off and they lose everything,
yeah.
right? Tissue they gained was a result of the gear and not from quality tissue from training hard, having everything dialed in.
And I think that's the thing too. You need to have everything dialed in. You need to have like your training dialed in, your nutrition dialed in before you even think about that. Because like really like gear is just like yeah, it's gonna help you. It's a performance enhancing drug, so it's gonna help you enhance your performance. But like you already have to be performing at that high level for it to be really effective. Like you can't be just like half-assing your workouts and eating whatever you want and take care. You're gonna look better, but like you're not getting the most out of that. And like you should consider yourself a high-level athlete, and you should live like a high-level athlete. If you're going to be taking stuff like that, right? Um, and yeah, I mean that's just my opinion on it. Obviously, people can do what they want, and people are going to take it even though they're not competing. But I don't think it's something that should be taken lightly.
Yeah, like at what cost? We know so many people who go to the gyms we go to and they look the same year after year, doing the same shit year after year. And it's like, for what cost? You're
Yeah,
not improving, your nutrition isn't good, you're not training hard, you're not prioritizing sleep, you're just taking gear, going downtown on the weekends.
yeah,
That's about it, right?
yeah. It's literally just like you're taking gear so you can look good in a t-shirt when you're out drinking. Like it's just like stacking more damage on top of your body like week after week. Um, but yeah, no, it's that I just doesn't make any sense to me. Like it blows my mind when I see people doing that.
Yeah, and even like the stack designs I see are absurd. Like people just don't even bother to do the littlest bit of research, like to see what, like it's pretty common knowledge that it's if you have two of the same thing that serve the same purpose, then what's the purpose of putting them together? It's kind of
Yeah,
dumb, right?
And then you'll hear like, yeah, I talk to people like in my DMs and stuff, like guys that are also like competitive bodybuilders, um, and like running like crazy cycles, but like their excuse is like, oh, it's like I feel good on it, like that's what works for me. Like, but what
Like
are
no
you
shit.
doing?
Yeah,
Like
you're doing.
literally like a gram of tests and like 750 EQ on top of that. It's like, what are you doing? Like,
When was the last time you got blood work done?
exactly, yeah,
Heart
like
rate through the roof, blood
yeah,
pressure through the roof,
yeah, blood pressure through the roof, yeah. But like they're just like,
and on top of that.
little bit of telmisartan on top of that, and it'll be all back to normal. Like I'm not worried about it. But
Oh, yeah, people just fail to see deep into the future, you know? You don't have that perspective to just have, I guess it comes down to on education, right? They just don't have the knowledge to know that.
education, and also like I think that like some people are just like they want it now so bad. And like we were talking about with social media, it's like they're like, oh, like Urs was like looked like this when he was this age, and like Seaborn looked like this, and it's like I need to look like that when I'm that age. And like you got to understand these guys. One, they're genetic freaks. They started with it when they were really young, and like you trying to play catch up when you're 23, 24 is not going to do anything but like literally like put you in a coffin earlier.
Yeah.
So it's like it's obviously like we know it's a long road, and like it's a lifestyle, and you got to play the long game.
And the thing you have to think about with these real genetic guys is they don't even have to try that hard, you know? Like they'll see crazy results with the minimal doses and just by stimulating muscle, not even by like, of course, nutrition is dialed, training's good, but you have guys who are in their early 20s who are running doses more than pros would run to not even look a quarter of what they would look like. So you have to, at some point, you have to pull back out, look at what you're doing and see what you're doing wrong, or just look at what you're doing and be real with yourself and say, well, what am I doing that's not working? I shouldn't have to run this amount of gear to look like this, right?
Well, exactly. And then like this person that I was talking to the other day, they were like, I'd rather be running a pro cycle at 2025 than at like 30, 35. And I'm like, well, dude, you don't need to be running this much anyways. Like, it's just like, their mentality is like, my body is more capable of dealing with it now than it is later. Which, yeah, like, I'm sure like you're healthy now, but like if you're doing this, you're not going to be healthy for long.
Yeah, it's compounding, right? Like it's not even like people look at their blood work and say my blood work's good or bad. It's all relative. It's like what's the trend? Like
Yeah.
in the last three blood work panels you had done, is your GFR going up or is it staying the same or is it going down? Like if you stack your blood work for 10 years straight and you look at the data and punch it into like Excel and you make a little graph to see how it looks over the 10-year span, that's when you really know, like, are you doing damage or not, right? If
Yeah.
the long term, if that's trending upwards, then shit's going south.
Yeah. No,
It's
no,
not
100.
even like an individual panel. It's like, how is it looking over the long term, right?
Yeah. And then like this is things that like people just don't consider when they want to start taking like PEDs. It's like they don't realize that like you're just adding more work to your life. Like
Right.
it's
Oh
like
yeah.
it's another level of like things that like it's not only like yeah you're taking gear, but you also got to like you're taking all your vitamins. You got to be able to afford all those supplements. Like the supplements that you got to take cost more than the gear, and you got to get your blood work done. You got to dump your blood. Like you got to have all these things in check, and like also like be consistent with your pinning. And like it's just another level of it's just more responsibility essentially. And
Trying
for
to deal with doctors and like the lack of knowledge between PEDs and doctors, MDs knowledge. It's so far that
yeah,
like, I find myself when I go to my doctor, I'm pretty much telling her what she should be seeing or what she should not be seeing because she tells
exactly.
me straight up, like, I know nothing about this stuff. Like, this is the first time I've ever had to deal with this.
Yeah,
So I'm telling her what she should be seeing, right?
yeah,
And if you don't come into that with that knowledge, then you're just as dumbfounded as the doctor, right? The two of
exactly.
you are just clueless on what's going on, so you have nowhere to go, right? You're
Yeah.
just stuck in that pit.
And I mean, that's the importance of like, having a coach that like, you can go get your blood work done. And yeah, okay, you might know nothing about what your blood panel is supposed to look like, or like whether, this should be up or this should be down. But like if you have a coach that you can just give that to, then it's like your doctor is going to be like, okay, I know nothing. You're like, I know nothing either. but like you can give it to your coach, and your coach can be like, okay, this is what's kind of going on here, and explain it to you. So
Just do your own due diligence, like if you're a football player, you have a coach, but you're still looking at the plays, you're looking at, previous games, you're just doing your work, right? You have like John Jewett's a really good example. Like if you really wanted to understand this stuff, you just spend a day on YouTube, get a notebook, write some notes,
oh,
and you
absolutely.
right? The information is there. You just have to go out and get it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree 100%, man. And I think doing something like this, or like, obviously you're putting your health at risk, and like there's so many things that could go wrong. It's like, it's a no-brainer that you should, do your research beforehand,
Yeah.
and figure out what you're actually doing to your body, and how you're going to be able to, keep yourself healthy through the process.
Yeah, and then just understanding how things work, like how different pathways work, and like why shouldn't we take these two drugs together? Why should we do this one and that one? Like you should know, even if you have a coach, I feel like, in my opinion, you should have some knowledge on why things work. And you should, if your coach can't provide you with an answer on why you're doing something, then that's not a good sign.
Yeah, yeah. That's it.
Have to have the idea before they put it into action, right? They have to understand why they're doing something before they do it, not just because I told you so. Just do it.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of coaches will coach based on like their experience, and they'll
Right.
be like, okay, you can do this because I did this, but like everybody's different, and like
Exactly.
obviously like I don't like you know suggesting like cycles or PEDs that I haven't used myself, because I like to know like how they work, and obviously there's some that are very similar, they work in
Yeah.
a similar way, but some like obviously side effects are better for some people, so you just have to know that. And you're obviously going to learn based on feedback, like biofeedback, and like figure out like, okay, whether this is working for someone or not. Some orals are good for some people, and some people just they don't work at all. So it's finding that sweet spot, but also having the knowledge yourself to kind of like develop the initial plan, and move forward on that, and then be able to explain to your client that, okay, your client is putting their health in your hands and trusting you with that. So you should have to at least be able to explain to them why they're doing that.
Yeah. And why that's the best course of action. And always be accepting of dialogue, right? Like if your client says, well, I'm not really comfortable doing this, maybe we should try something else. Then engage in that conversation,
Yeah,
discuss ideas, brainstorm a little bit, and then collectively between the two, you can come to a conclusion that you both agree with, and that's the best course of action, right?
because I like the way I see it too. It's like it's a learning process for them too, especially like my competitive clients. Like I'm in that position too. Like
Yeah.
I'm learning from my coach. We're learning from Morgan, as well as like so many other people. So like allowing to have that conversation with your clients, and being open to having it, and not just like shutting the door and being like you just got to trust the process.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what I mean?
Class.
Yeah,
Trust
and
the process. Do what I tell you to do.
yeah, it just doesn't work like that. Because like I know that I would want to have an explanation, and kind of be able to like know why I'm doing this, and like what the goal of doing it is, right?
Yeah. And as a coach, you're providing a service. The client is paying for a service. So you should be to just give them as much information as you possibly can, right? And just educate them along the way. We're not only coaches, we're educators.
Yeah,
Then these people collect that knowledge and then they can maybe share some accurate knowledge with other people, right? Because there's so much misinformation out. Like it's so if you're brand new to even the gym now, and if you spend a day trying to find information, you would have 30 different ways to do one thing. Like
yeah.
it's be really misleading. So to have that accurate information passed down through different people, it's important.
And I feel like a lot of the time it's so like complicated too. Like these days, people like overcomplicate everything. So like, yeah, there might be 30 ways to do something, but like 20 of those ways is what works.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So there's different ways of doing things that are gonna work. It's
And
just like,
you see that with training as well. Like even like there's always these new exercises being developed and this is the best way to do something or this is the way to do something. But really all it is it's like a content creator trying to come up with something new and original,
yeah,
right, as their own, and they create that piece of content and then it gets in the wrong hands and everybody's like, oh my God, like this is the end all be all.
this is the
Like
new best thing. Yeah. And I think too, like, I know like over the past like year or two, like the biggest thing has been like like lat focus training. Like everyone's like
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
the single arm lat pull down and doing like I think they call it like the JPG,
yeah.
JPG
The pull down.
coaching. Yeah,
Yeah,
JPG pull down, and it's just like I think James Hollingshead did a video on it, and he was saying like if you're new to lifting, like you should just focus on the basic stuff, like do a barbell row, do like a regular pull down,
yeah,
and just build up like you just need to build mass in your back, and
yeah.
then once you have a base of muscle, you can look at your back and be like, okay, my lats might be not be as developed as my upper back. So then you can incorporate things like that to like isolate those muscles and develop them. But like young guys that are like, 150, 170 pounds, like doing these lat focused pull downs, it's just like, you just need to put on size first. And you need to do like more compound movements to do that. Like you're going to see much better results doing that.
You just need a lot of stimulus. Like,
Yeah.
look at the amount of deadlifts we did. Like, and even now, like I incorporate them every so often. But the issue I find is just the fatigue you accumulate. But like early on, it's just a lot of deadlifts, building mass to the whole posterior. Yeah, just focusing on heavy movements and just getting strong. Like
Yeah.
track your stuff and just keep getting better every week. And then I think it's okay to incorporate those sorts of movements, like the more unilateral focus stuff, but you gotta have a good mix, right? You gotta have your meat and potatoes, and then you can have some of that
Exactly.
more fun, but uh,
Yeah.
mix of both, right?
Yeah, and no, the meat and potatoes. That's a good way of putting it because that's like the most important thing for sure. Um, so what are your plans now for, I guess, this off season, competing in the future? Do you have any idea of when you're going to do another show?
Yeah, so I just finished up a health phase. So I started back on cycle last week. So we're in a good place to do that. We kind of held everything. Didn't really push food during the health phase. Enjoyed life a little more. Obviously, training was really good. Everything was good, but less focus on just shoveling in food all the time. And I still held weight. So I held between 252 and 255. Peak weight was 260. So I was great with that. Time all the drugs cleared, insulin and all that. And I still, this around the same size. So I held that, and then we just started last week. So it's going to be 16 weeks of that. So it's 4 months. So where does that put us? Kind of like near the end of the year. It's July now, so like
Yeah.
November. Um, yeah. So I think after that we're going to have to do a little tidy up. Come off for a little. I think we're going to have to try to go in a little bit of a deficit and just get a little bit of fat off.
Yeah.
Same situation as prior, right? If you're eating in a surplus for a couple of years, you're going to accumulate some fat. So try to tidy up a little bit, and I think just repeat, rinse and repeat until
Yeah.
we're I'm at a place where I'm confident that I can do well at an amateur show. I think for me, off-season weight would have to be around like 270, 280 to get there of quality tissue. Obviously not my best composition, but at 270, 280. And then if I could refine that down to like 230 on stage, I'd be happy. I
Okay.
think I could do some decent damage at an amateur show at that weight. So I'm thinking like late 2024 or 2025. It's hard to say right now because I'm still in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Uh, Definitely no rush though. I'm pretty sure it's the same with you. Like you're not in any
Yeah.
rush.
I'm
Honestly.
I, I'm in no rush at all, and that's the thing. It's like I have Jared. Jared doesn't have weight caps because he competes in bodybuilding, but where I'm competing in classic physique, it's based on my height. So I'm 6'2", so I think my weight cutoff is like 237. And last time I was on stage, I was like 213. So I got like close to 25 pounds of tissue to put on, which is like
Wow.
that's a lot of tissue. So it's gonna, I don't want to compete again until I know. And same with Jared. Same with Jared. Like my last show, like I was lean, but again, I think I could have been leaner.
Yeah.
So, and I think you could always be leaner. Um, so I
And the
mean,
more tissue you have, the leaner you get, right? Just the more you can.
exactly, exactly. So again, I'm just giving it time, and I'm probably going to compete around the same time as him. Like I would say late 2024. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So I'm in and I think Morgan's in the same boat with both of us.
Yeah.
He says, there's no need for you guys to go competing again if you're not going to be competitive at a national stage. So that's the thing. Like I like next show, that's the plan. Like, I want to see how I stack up nationally. Like, I'm not, I know like I'm not going hunting for a pro card because I haven't even been a contender for a pro card before. So like you can't say
Yeah.
you're on your road to pro when like you haven't even been
Oh, delusional like that, man. Like
top three at a national show before. So
you
it's like
haven't even won a local show, and I see people being like road to pro, like turn pro this year, turn pro this
yeah,
year.
yeah,
Clearly, like I knew that before I even went to Toronto that like I'm not even anywhere near that level yet. But it really just reinforces it when you see amateur guys in bodybuilding. You're like, holy shit! Like these guys are built full as a house, big, muscular, and peeled. Right?
yeah,
They're placing through maybe third or fourth in their class. Right? They're not even the overall.
yeah.
But yeah, like for anybody out there who might be deluded, like I see this too all the time with like somebody posts like a guy on Instagram and he's still an amateur and they're like, how come this guy's not going to the Olympia? Like he could be Chris.
Yeah,
Like, don't be that delusional. You know what I mean? Like there's levels to the game. If they stood together on stage, it would be apples and oranges. It'd be like a clear winner, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like people like get that confused so easily. Like they'll compare pictures they'll do side by sides on Instagram
Yeah.
of like the best shot of this person, the best shot of this person. And it's like, the one person like I've seen recently, like that French guy you were talking about, like people are putting him next to C-Bomb all the time. It's like C-Bomb has like 5 inches on this guy.
Yeah.
And that's like, probably 40, 50 pounds. Like you don't realize like how big of a difference that plays on stage. And I mean that's I'm really looking forward to actually like filling out my weight cap, my frame, because obviously, being taller, you can be a lot heavier. And that plays to your advantage when you're on stage because you're just gonna be so much bigger than the other guys.
Yeah, it's I find the amateur shows, especially like for classic, that'll separate you a lot, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the ranks now and like even pro shows Olympia level, like a lot of those guys are a little taller, like Urs, Ramon, Chris. I'm sure I think Ramon, I got a pic or Urs we got a picture with. I'm not sure how tall he is, maybe like 5'9", 5'10". He's a taller dude.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think he might be taller than that. I think he's probably
Closer to six,
five.
maybe.
What? Sorry.
Is he closer to 6 foot?
Yeah, I think he's like 5'10", 5'11".
He's a taller dude.
Yeah.
And man, he was housed when we seen him.
Dude, it's crazy, man. Like I was like, so I'm buddies with Mark, obviously, and Mark was like good friends with him, and they were staying at the Airbnb together when he was here. And like, so I like recorded a workout for them, and then I went back to the Airbnb to hang out, and like, Urs was just like sprawling on the couch, and like his thighs, dude, like I
Yeah.
couldn't see the couch behind him. Like he was just massive, like and like 275 and lean. And he's got, I think, what did he say?
Cutoff's 230.
Yeah, like, and it's hard to believe. Like, you see him, like he does
He was
not.
in good shape, man. Like he had shorts on. I could see his quads still had detail. Like the side of his leg had
Oh,
vascular.
they're striated, like they're feathered.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And yeah, I think Greg Doucette did like a video with him.
Yeah. Will he
And
make it?
he was like, "There's no way you're making there's no way you're making your weight cut off."
Yeah. It's gonna be tough. Like those. I think he's gonna look good at like 240,
Yeah,
240, 243, and nice and full with being peeled. And I think they're gonna like kind of what he had to do with Neil Curry.
yeah.
I was actually watching a podcast with him today, and they were saying his best look was about 15 or 20 pounds above his cutoff. And like he was
How much
talking
was?
about how difficult it is when you have no fat left, how difficult it is to burn tissue, right? Like,
Well,
especially taking anabolics, like your body does like taking tren, the luck of you burning tissue is like so far beyond because that's what it does, right? It retains tissue.
yeah,
I'm sure he had to cut a lot of his PEDs and just like eat nothing, do crazy amounts of cardio to get that tissue to
yeah,
come up.
yeah. Well, I mean, like that was like Urs. He was doing insane amounts of cardio, like doing 2 a day workouts because like he can't eat anything. So he was just saying he was just like the longer I spend in the gym, the better because like I'm not hungry in the gym.
Yeah, just more output, right? Just keep
Yeah.
moving.
He's like, so I just train for as long as possible. And then like,
Walk around the gym for a couple hours after.
yeah, yeah. But what is Neil Curry's cutoff? Like what did he weigh last show he did?
Think his cutoff was around the same. He's like 5'10". I think it was
Yeah.
230.
But he's like really big and bubbly too.
Yeah, so like even now they were checking out his off-season pictures and he's still the same thing. Quads are feathered and he's sitting at like 269, I think. He's doing Prague. I think it's a week after the Olympia, so he's going to try to get a early qualification and take another year off. But yeah, the Olympia is going to be crazy too this year.
That'll be sick. I'm pretty sure I'm going to the Olympia.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. So we booked flights to go to Orlando.
Yep.
I haven't bought the Olympia tickets yet.
So we're in Orlando this year.
Sorry?
In Orlando this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna be going up for that. I think probably going up for a week.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, so I mean that'll be sick.
Oh, to see those guys in person, it's going to be like, and
Yeah.
the expo, everything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think it will just be a really good experience. And again, just seeing those guys like in person, like up close, is just like mind
Well,
blowing.
yeah, it's nothing you've ever seen before. It's almost inhuman, right? It's
Yeah,
like never seen this before.
it's like when we were at the Toronto Pro Show and we saw Hassan walking around.
Yeah,
He's just like wearing like this 4XL t-shirt, just like
yeah,
walking around with like his kids, like his clan of kids.
like high five. Like,
Oh man, it's crazy. Just like a little,
he's only like in his early 30s.
yeah, that blows my mind.
I thought for sure he was like in his 40s.
Dude, and so Mark worked out with him, and Mark was saying that his style of training is like crazy, dude. Like
Really?
they did a chest workout and they just went into the gym and started. First thing he started with was flat barbell bench press. Did nothing else before that. Did sets of 10. Started with a plate and did a set of 10 with a plate, a set of 10 with a plate and a 25, a set of 10 with two plates, and this set of 10 with two plates and a 25. That was it. And just did that for like every exercise.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck. It's
And just
crazy.
like just like really unorthodox like ways of training, but like he's just got like muscle on top of muscle on top of muscle, dude. Like
Yeah. He's layers and layers. Dude must have to use like a 2-inch needle to get even in the tissue. Like he's so thick and like, yeah, like when you see the pictures of him on stage and it's kind of like a side angle and you see his quad sweep just standing there,
just the
you know,
density, like it's just like
uh, inches and inches and inches of tissue on his legs. Like
yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's like when you see these like top level pro guys in person, it's just again, it's just a completely different thing. Because you see them on Instagram, you're like, they look crazy, but you don't realize how like actually like thick they are.
right in front of you, right? I even see that with Morgan. Like when we're in the hotel, like we see Morgan often, right? Like we're at his house, we're hanging out.
Yeah.
When right in front of you with posing trunks on, you see the density and the thickness. You're like,
And
that's
like
fucking it's a thick
all the
dude.
detail and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be crazy. I'm excited to see too Pat Morgan was just too busy to get on with us this
Yeah.
morning, but we'll definitely have him on soon. But he's obviously competing in Vancouver next weekend, so that'll be cool to see.
Anybody who jumped in that show after, I haven't seen many names.
I don't know, honestly.
So I think like Nate Spear might be doing it, or
Yeah.
he is. There was talks of Mo Shaban doing it too.
Okay.
I think Hassan's doing it
Okay.
because he hasn't qualified yet, and there's only like a handful of shows left, and they're all in Europe besides Vancouver.
Was
And he, like,
Siobhan supposed to do the Toronto Pro
I think he had some plans to, but I'm not sure why he didn't.
and just
Maybe like visa issues. So if that's
yeah,
the case, probably have visa issues getting to Vancouver too.
yeah,
But yeah, hopefully it'd be a good turnout, and it should be because Toronto was pretty stacked, or like more than we thought. A lot of
yeah,
guys last minute.
yeah,
I'm sure Vancouver will be the same.
yeah. I mean, I hope so. I hope it's a good show, but like, I mean, I think Morgan.
Dylan Bursey's competing as well, so that's
Yeah,
cool.
just pro
Uh,
debut, and he looks crazy right now.
Legs are crazy.
Yeah, yeah, his quads are nuts. Yeah, he's gonna do really well. He's gonna do really well, I think.
Pro Am, right? So it's an amateur show.
Yeah, the setup for the Vancouver show is really weird. It's like a 2 day thing, and like they just have it broken up. Like I think some prejudging is the day before, and they do a little bit of the amateur show then in the afternoon, and then I think they have like some classes. It's kind of like the Olympia.
Yeah,
Uh,
Morgan was telling me about it, like how it was set up, and it was really weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think a lot of pros don't like doing the Vancouver show for that reason.
Okay.
Like I've heard one, it's like not the best venue, and also like the 2 day thing is kind of just like a pain in the ass for a lot of them.
Twice.
Because yeah, I mean, it completely changes your
Yeah.
approach to peaking, like what you've done in the past. Because like a lot of people figure out like what they need to do to peak for a show, and then it's pretty consistent with like relatively within that range of what you need to do. But you put it in like over the course of 2 days, and it kind of completely changes things.
You gotta nail it twice,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
most guys, once they peak once, that's the best they can be, right? And then you think about you're gonna get down to what you were again, and you gotta hit it again and try to perfect it again without spilling over or being flat or whatever,
Yeah,
right? And you
yeah.
gotta take diuretics twice, and I'm sure that's not good either.
No, no, definitely not, definitely not. Yeah,
I
but I mean, I'm looking forward to.
thirsty I was.
What's that?
Remember how thirsty I was?
Oh
No
yeah, dude.
black coffee, like, oh my God, it was brutal.
Hasty mouth.
Just like a layer of white mucus on your lips, just like
You're also
disgusting.
just hauling on the vape pen too.
Oh yeah, just with my dad on the hotel bed, just hauling on
Yeah,
the man.
that's so funny, dude. That's so funny. I'm excited for when we compete again, though, dude. It'd be
Yeah,
cool.
it'd be cool. It's around the same time. So it'd be cool if we could line something up so it's the same show. Do you have any idea on like what show you would like to do?
I'd like to do one up here, obviously. I mean, I went to Fuad show in because Alicia competed at Fuad
Yeah.
show, and that was
What
like,
time of year is that?
sorry,
What time of year is that? The
that
show.
was May.
Okay. Yeah, it
So like,
could be hitting like 2025, but too
May
early.
2025 would be a possibility for sure. I've never prepped through the winter though, which would be
Uh,
for sure.
Me either.
But
What
anyway,
kind of? It started like January because it could be in July.
yeah, right, right. But Fuad show would be definitely be a possibility. I know he's doing one in Detroit,
Yeah,
um,
Pro Am.
soon. And so me, Gavin, Clark was looking at doing that. But the only thing is it doesn't qualify you for nationals. So it's
Yeah,
an
and it's
show.
NPC, not CPA.
Yeah. But I mean it would be a cool experience nonetheless, because like we could
Yeah,
like drive down from my place. Like I think it's like a 3 hour drive from here.
yeah,
Um, and so I mean it would be a cool experience. And like his show was just like it was really well put off. And like the venue here was really nice. He had a great spot for it. It was like a theater. Um, so that was really cool. And the other one that I'd like to do would be the King Kong.
yeah.
I
I
think
heard the
that,
production for that's really nice.
yeah, yeah. That's another like big, like really well put off show.
I
So
think it's at the same venue that the Toronto Pro was at, if I'm not
I think,
mistaken.
yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, Carly competing there in November, so you can definitely flick down and check it out.
Oh,
Check it.
absolutely. What's the date of the show?
November. I think it might be like the 16th or something, like
Okay,
mid-November.
cool, cool, perfect, perfect. Yeah, no, I'll absolutely be there for that.
Yeah.
That's and they have sick trophies too. Like the trophy is just like a giant red gorilla.
Yeah. Fuad was also talking on the podcast, like for the overall winners and the overall class winners to give them like sponsorships as incentive for the show, right?
Cool.
And he was going to have like buses and stuff transporting athletes to and from different locations and just kind of putting everything out there for the athlete, not looking to make a dollar from it, just kind of building the foundation for a good show and then
Yeah.
worry about making money on it later, right?
And I think that's how it should be. Like,
Absolutely.
obviously, like if you're a name in the industry, you've been around for a while, you've done it all yourself, and like you obviously have the funding to do it, why not?
Yeah.
If you want to actually grow the sport, um, I think that's what these guys should be doing, you
You
know?
just need to offer more, right? Look at the Olympia. I mean, the Olympia could easily offer open guys 200,000 and take that other 200,000 as profit, right?
Yeah,
But they're putting a lot on the line because it's incentive to get there, right? That's how you get the numbers.
yeah.
And from a business sense, as you know, like it's about the long game, right? And I'm sure
Oh,
Fuad sees it
100%.
a
And
while.
like the other thing is too is like I think that these shows need to like really step it up, because like Christian Guzman, who
Yeah.
does summer shredding, like he's like pretty much creating his own like federation now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I know there's a summer shredding event here in August, and so basically he has all these like I guess you consider them the regional shows, basically like qualifiers for the championships. and the championship will be the typical summer shredding in Houston,
Yeah.
where the gym is. But basically, so you if you qualify and you get to the championships and you win, the prize money is like $25,000.
Shit.
So you get 25K plus like an athlete sponsorship and like a photo shoot and all this other great stuff, like camera equipment, basically like everything you need to kind of like take things to the next level and like start like making content and like making money from doing this stuff, right? So I think that's really cool, and I think if people like Fuad will be able to like match that or offer something similar to that, then that would be really good. And if not, like people like this are just going to end up taking over.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that what happened? The guy in Labrador, he lives in Oakville now. What's his name?
Oh, I'm blanking now. Tyler.
Yeah, that's what happened to him, right? He won because he has
Yeah,
an alpha
yeah, and he
now.
got an athlete sponsorship, and he's just permanently sponsored by
Free,
Apple now.
free merch. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great. Yeah, you have to have something like because otherwise, as we know, the cost to compete is sometimes absurd. Not
yeah,
only for the fees for the federation, the pictures, the tan, but if you're enhanced, like it's not even bad for us because we're not using crazy stuff. But if you're a guy using growth hormone and other things like that, like you're talking, 20, 30,000 for a prep.
yeah,
You have to have something for the athletes to get a little bit back. Like sometimes just even a ring, like we've talked about before, like reintroduce some rings. Like who I was talking about, maybe having a Rolex as for one of
yeah.
the winners, like something like that, so you can wear it and it has some value. Otherwise, like we're spending for us like $2,000 to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, not including travel costs to get a plastic trophy, right? So you
Yeah.
need to have something to get the athletes in the door.
And like absolutely, and I think like that'll bring more to the sport as well. Because like if the prize money is going to be bigger, then that's also going to be like attract more fans. People are going to be like, wow, there's like a lot on the line here. Like this must be like, it's just like it's more important. It's like when you could have the same car and one car costs more. It's like people are going to be more drawn to that because they're going to think it's better. You know what I mean? Um, so I think that'd be awesome. I know back in the day, the Newfoundland shows used to have like you get like the Mr. NL ring, which would be like so cool to have back.
Yeah, coats too with
Yeah,
like
and that's like one of my buddies who's from the States. He just won just showing classic, and like he got like a varsity jacket. He got a ring, and what else did he get? He got something else too, but like it was like a really really cool surprise and a really really cool prize, and like he was just like it was just like a regional show, like it wasn't like any big show or anything. um but like I think that entices people to compete in those shows, you know what I mean? And I think especially like for a Newfoundland show, like that's kind of the stuff that it needs, you know.
absolutely.
You
Because
need
otherwise,
more.
paying not a lot of return, right?
Yeah, and you need like athletes are going to sacrifice 20 weeks and a lot of money to go forward with this, and it's like you need to actually like hype up the show and like have some good prizes and put on good promotion for the show and like entice people to actually compete, because if not, they're just going to get on a plane and go to like a show that's run significantly better with better prizes.
And they're gonna make like their thought process is, well, I can be here when I can make a little vacation of it, and let's go
Exactly.
elsewhere. Spend the extra money, but it'd be worth it, right?
Yeah,
And
because
back with what you said about Christian, it's neat because he's bridging the gap kind of between influencers and real like hardcore bodybuilders.
yeah,
Because people who otherwise wouldn't compete will now compete because Christian has a show and it's an alpha land. Like it's like, it's his niche. It's like influencer-esque. So I think it's going to help bring new young faces to the sport and help bridge that gap between, because a lot of those people wouldn't otherwise say go to not Fuad show because he's so popular now, maybe. But you think
yeah,
about it's a regional show in the middle of nowhere. It's not like for us, it's more of like an inner purpose to do that. But
yeah.
for them, have the Christians doing this, maybe they're gonna have some friends doing it. There's incentive to do it. So they're just gonna make the leap, right, and kind of compete.
Yeah, and I think too, like I'm all for that. Like the more people that we can get into the sport and like competing, and like the more traction that the sport can bring, it's just like the better it is for everybody in the sport, because there's going to be more money, it's going to be just more lucrative, and it's just going to
More
be.
potential clients. And the thing I've realized too, especially in the coaching world, is that like you don't really have to be so worried about like say what you're doing or what somebody else is doing because there's enough for everybody to eat. There's enough people in the world for
Dude,
everybody to do well. So everybody, as long as more people just keep coming into the sport and more people get involved, which is great, and then that means just more potential clients for us, and overall the sport grows to levels that
yeah,
eventually maybe stream in ESPN or something like that, right?
yeah,
Reaches a point where I'm not sure if it ever will because of like the taboo part about steroids and people are so like what I mean? UFC kind of went so mainstream because they had the really stringent testing and all that stuff.
yeah,
But to be fair, they do stream the Olympics and we all know they're on gear, so it's like
yeah,
whatever. It's just
yeah,
more taboo because no one talks about it, right?
yeah. No, 100%. But like, I think it is something that should be, televised.
Well,
Uh,
absolutely.
and I think there could be a lot more money in it because it has the freak factor too. And I think that's like, that's what draws people that aren't necessarily even bodybuilding fans. You
Yeah.
know, it's like,
Just pure awe of it, like wow, like that's amazing.
exactly. And I think too, like if people kind of knew or saw like more like behind the scenes and like
Yes.
you start following bodybuilders for like their personality and like you see on Netflix like they have the F1 which is like brought so much more like attraction to the F1.
Everyone in golf now.
They have the golf one which like
Yes
people
now.
I have friends that like don't even like golf but they watch that and
Oh,
now they're
dude, I watched the
golf
whole
course.
thing. Yeah, I watched the whole thing, and I was like, I don't even like golf, but like, I kind of want to play golf now.
This is interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and like after
Exactly.
I watched Formula One, I was like, I don't even like cars that much, but like, I
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. So
want a fast car now.
I think like a good like if they did like a documentary on like Sebum.
Yeah, well, he would be the perfect candidate for that, right? Like
Everyone,
class.
he's
Yeah,
so mainstream anyways. Everyone knows him. Like that's gonna bring a lot of traction. And like if you can get more people to kind of get behind like his personality, and then like you can start with him, but then like branch to someone else, like another personality. Like, you
maybe
know,
take like the top five at the Olympia, even in like men's open. And there's 5 episodes on like a little documentary. Each episode is like they do with Formula One, right? They take like break up the clips so it's like the parts that they want, and then you could have like a prep in one episode.
yeah,
And last episode they're all on stage. It could easily be done, but I think the issue obviously is the taboo part about bodybuilding. And but I think, like you said though, with Chris and Classic and how mainstream he's going, like Chris is kind of becoming the new Ronnie Coleman. Like I could say, yeah, buddy, to somebody in the grocery store, and there's a decent chance they're gonna know who I'm talking about, or at least they've heard that phrase before.
yeah,
And now with Chris, like there's you ask any girl like that's never been to the gym, like name one bodybuilder, she'll say SIBO. Like
yeah.
9 chances in 10, right?
Oh, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
he'll be the perfect guy to kind of get that emotion. And maybe we'll see that once he retires, like once he's done with it and he actually wants to start devoting some time back into it.
Yeah, I think he'll be someone that'll definitely put more back into the sport once he's done.
A Jay Cutler type guy, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
an
because like
ambassador for the
I think he realizes like how much the sport has actually given him.
yeah,
Um, and I think he's like a really good like role model and like face for the sport. And
yeah.
I think that plays a huge part in like his success in it as well.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Like obviously the IFBB wants someone like they want the face of classic physique to be someone who's like likable and personable and like has a fan base and like that's just making them more money.
Like clean cut. You're kind of seeing that with Derek Lunsford now. Like Derek is very clean cut. Like whereas with Nick, like Nick will always be a great bodybuilder, but he will never be the face of open bodybuilding just because of how he is.
Yeah,
Being himself, but in terms of representing a company like the IFBB, Chris is the perfect candidate because he's so clean and cut. Like he's really good with business, really good with human interaction, promotes the sport a ton, and he's
yeah,
always doing collabs, right? Like he's always collabing with somebody. Like I seen he collabed with, like Lean Beef Patty the other day. You know who that is?
yeah. The TikTok
That
girl.
girl. Like I think he trained legs with her and Brett Wilkin.
So random.
Oh, right. And like in the YouTube video, Brett was like, I'm not even sure who this girl is. Like Chris just brought her here, but like we're gonna go through a leg workout.
That's
Hilarious.
hilarious.
And he's like this 300-pound tank, like 8 plates on the hack squats, right? Like screaming blood out of his nose.
Yeah.
And she was just there doing like 2 plates. And he was like, come on, come on.
That's
Hilarious.
so funny. That's so funny. Um, Yeah, but anyways, do we have anything else you want to go over today?
I think that's probably good for this one. I mean,
Yeah,
we've been on for a while now.
we've been on for a hot minute. But yeah, so guys, that's gonna be it for I guess episode 1 of season 2.
Yep.
Hopefully we can probably I mean, I'd like to do this every weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I'm usually free Sunday mornings every week.
Sunday mornings, and I mean we can get some different people on. I don't know what next. I don't know. Do you know if the Vancouver Pro is on Sunday as well, or is it Friday, Saturday?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, we'll have to figure that out.
You're flying up Thursday?
I fly up. I leave on Tuesday.
Tuesday. How far is it from Toronto? Must be still like
Four and a
10
half hours, dude.
hours. Only 4.5?
Yeah.
Really? I was looking at flights from here. It said like 13 hours.
What?
I guess it included layovers and all that, but
Right. It must be layovers. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's just a straight 4.5 hour flight from here.
it's so long on a plane.
But like all the same, yeah. It's like you got to think like from Newfoundland to Toronto, that's like a 3 hour flight.
Three and a half, yeah.
Yeah. So and then 4.5 hours. So yeah, I got the Nintendo Switch.
You got to be doing something. Like,
Oh yeah, and plus, I
I'm
mean,
just, I always get up and go to the bath. I don't even need to use the bathroom, but I'm just like
just go
walking
for a
back
little walk.
just to get my legs moving, right?
Yeah,
Sit in the bathroom for like
yeah.
15 minutes on my
I'll
phone.
definitely like. A lot of planes have like Wi-Fi available on them
Yeah,
now.
it's $15 or something.
Yeah, so I'll definitely get that, and I have like clients competing,
Yep.
um, like the weekend after, and then the weekend after that.
Yeah,
So
because the new Newfoundland show is the weekend after.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then I got one guy competing in the Barry show. Colin is competing in Barry.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So that'll
What
keep
is
me
it?
busy enough.
So
Sorry,
that's the same weekend as Vancouver, the Barry show.
the Barry show is the weekend after Newfoundland.
Okay, so is Colin doing Newfoundland and then Barry after?
No, he's got like school or something. He's got some like I don't know what it is, but basically he's like he can't even go watch the Newfoundland show because he's booked up. Because that's what I was like, dude, you should definitely do the Newfoundland show prior and then hop into Barry, but he just doesn't have time to do it. So
Yeah, cool.
that'd be good. Anyways, dude, well, it was good chatting,
Yeah,
and
sure.
we'll figure something out for next week and hopefully get Morgan on too.
All right. After he does Vancouver.
Yeah, we'll get his afterthoughts. Hopefully it goes good.
Post game interview.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. See you later, bro.
You do.